hopefully everyone received the survey instrument as a PDF along with the Jobs First codes. So if you have these two documents, and I'm showing them on the screen, we'll be referring to these throughout the discussion. So hopefully you've got those in hand. The other thing that I wanted to note is that we will have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar, but if you have a question in the meantime, if you look at the GoToWebinar panel to the right side of your screen, there's a little hand icon, and I believe that you can click on that to raise your hand if you have a question or a comment. So Jennifer, if you want to go ahead and start the recording. I'm joined today by Jennifer Grams with NC3T as well, and she's going to handle recording, and she'll keep an eye out for any questions that you may have. So Jennifer, if you can just let me know when we are recording, we can go ahead and get started.
Hi, Brett. We're ready to go.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. We're here today to talk about the Jobs First program in Pennsylvania, and this is an initiative. It's a grant that came through the state, and there are 10 regions in the state that applied for this and received this grant. I'm going to unmute Tom Pellegrini. Excuse me. Unmute Tom Pellegrini from the NEPA Alliance to provide an overview of the Jobs First initiative. Tom, I've unmuted you. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you very much, Brett. I was just wondering, Brett, before we start off, is there any way we can identify all the partners that are participating in this webinar?
I can unmute everybody one by one, and we can ask people to introduce themselves.
That'd be good, I think.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that. I've got Andy Script. You're unmuted. Andy, are you there? He may have himself on mute.
Okay.
Okay, but I see from his email that he's with the Scranton Chamber.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the next, Brian Hansberry. Brian, can you hear me? All right, well, we're 0 for 2. Brian is with SEDco.com. Okay. We have Chuck Leonard. Chuck, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Would you mind introducing yourself?
I'm Chuck Leonard, Pocono Mountain Economic Development Corporation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chuck. We have Donna Simpson.
Hello?
Yeah, Donna, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Hi, I'm Donna Simpson with the Small Business Development Center at the University of Scranton, and I have Tammy Savarese from the Pike County Economic Development Council with me, too.
Okay, great. Thanks, Donna. Okay, Eric Soda, you're unmuted.
Great, this is Eric Soda, Northeast PAIRC.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Okay, we have Jack. Jack, can you hear me?
This is Jack Thunder.
Okay, thanks, Jack. And we have, and I'll mispronounce your last name, so I apologize for that, but Joseph Latier?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent, okay. And who are you with, Joseph?
Can do.
Okay, great, thank you. We have Kathy Henderson. Kathy, can you hear me? Okay, she's not responding. She is with the Carbon County Chamber. We have Mary Beth. Mary Beth, can you hear me? Okay, well, we have Mary Beth Wood. We have Patty Lenahan. Patty, are you with us?
Good morning. This is Marla Dotto, Trina Moss, and Patty Lenahan.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have Stephen Phillips. Stephen, can you hear me? All right. We have Tammy Savarese, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that as well. Tammy, are you with us?
Yeah, she's Donna.
All right, and one more, Virginia Toronto.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, and who are you with, Virginia?
The Lackawanna County Workforce Investment Board.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Okay, Tom, I think that was our roll call.
Okay, thank you very much, Brett. Try to make this as brief as possible so we can get to the heart of the matter. But there's still some, I think, outlying issues in relation to the surveys, the Jobs First surveys. We've heard back from most of the prep partners, but not all, relative to their willingness to conduct these surveys. So, you know, we have one or two agencies that we have not heard back from, so we're going to need to get that worked out. Number two, the status of the contracts. NEPA has received the contract in from the Department of Labor and Industry, so it's not the CED, that's the cognizant agency. It's the State Department of Labor and Industry. We are preparing subcontracts, sub-agreements with all the partners, and that should be going out to you very, very shortly. We have previously sent to you, based on a meeting that was held with the management or steering group for this project, as well as a conference call that was also held, and pursuant to the discussion at these two particular meetings, we had forwarded to you, based on the business demographics, the number of businesses, number of surveys potentially that you may be able to complete. That is not cast in concrete. I think, you know, for next month or two, it may be a fluid process a bit, and we're going to have to readjust accordingly. And when I say readjust, I mean, you know, basically upward. The survey instrument, you know, that was reviewed, changes were made, reviewed, changes were made. So that represents a combined effort between the Jobs First management group and Brett and his group. So that's what we're going to be reviewing today. The survey is the heart of the project right now. Everything that we'll be following after the surveys are completed, a lot of it will be based on the results of the survey. So, you know, like most things in this field, time is of the essence to get these completed. So I think we need to have a mindset that, you know, we have to do our best that we can to get these done within, you know, the period of time that we have. So that's pretty much all I have to say. If you want to talk about it further, as Brett said, you know, we could do it in the Q&A session. If not, Brett, I can turn it back over to you.
Okay. Okay. So just to reiterate sort of the overarching elements of the Jobs First project, the idea is that we're conducting a needs assessment among employers in the 7 counties in Northeast Pennsylvania with a focus on strategic sectors, which are identified on the first page of the survey, but certainly not limited to those sectors. We do have another category and expect that to be a fair portion of the respondents. We're taking that data, we're doing sort of a landscape scan to identify where training is happening and workforce preparation is happening at the secondary, post-secondary, and adult levels. We're going to match that data up to identify the areas of strength and the areas of opportunity. We'll bring everyone together, the key stakeholders in the region, and discuss this and use that data to strengthen the workforce pipeline in Northeast Pennsylvania. Now, as Tom mentioned, the employer survey is a key element of this. It's the first initiative to go out to gather information on workforce needs and you know, find out from employers what it is they need, what they're missing. And as far as the actual process for conducting the survey, these are surveys that are supposed to happen face-to-face with employer representatives in the market, in the 7 counties. So the idea is that you will identify the interview targets, which NEPA has already done, that the partners here will interview the subjects and then enter that information into an online survey form, which is being handled through SurveyMonkey. You can certainly send the PDFs to your interview subjects prior to the interview. It may actually be helpful to make the process go more smoothly, but we don't want to send people directly to the SurveyMonkey form. This is supposed to be a face-to-face interview, which could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour based on the amount of information that they want to share. So the heart of this is the Jobs First survey. You should have received the PDF of the survey instrument. It's Jobs First Survey-09-1114. And there are 4 components to the survey. And we're not going to go through this thing question by question. A lot of this stuff is fairly obvious, so I don't want to go through the entire 7-page document question by question. But we'll touch on some of the highlights and some of the trickier issues. And again, we'll have the Q&A at the end. And anytime going forward, if you have questions, my contact information is here. You should have it by email. I'll give it to you at the end. And always happy to take a call or take an email to walk through this. The first section is really sort of common information. We want to find out who's doing the interview. We want to get basic contact information on the respondent, and we want to get their contact information, website address, industry sector. The only thing that may not be obvious is the NAICS code, which is the North American Industry Classification System. Some of your interviewees will have that information, and some will not. And so if they don't have it, you can go to the census website, and the address is there. And basically, you can go up here, and hopefully everyone can see this, but you can just search a keyword. So maybe it's tire manufacturing. I'll just type this. And so it'll give you possible codes based on the type of company that it is. And if you really get stuck, just write a note and tell us what type of company it is, and we'll do the work to try to find that information for you. So that's about as simple as it can be for the first page. And the second page is where we're just basically getting information on their hiring patterns, their level of economic activity in the region, how many people they've hired in the past year, how many people they've let go, what they have seen just generally as the sort of challenges that they're facing. The only thing that I want to call out on this page, which is page 2, section 2, background information, is question 9. When we ask, question 8 asks if they work with any secondary or post-secondary partners as part of their training session or training strategy. Question 9 asks, if so, which programs? Try to give us specific information. So identify the name of the program. If there's a contact person, that's ideal. If there's not, that's fine. But try to identify by name the secondary or post-secondary programs that they're working with. On page 3 is where we actually ask about the jobs that they're hiring for, that they feel the greatest need for. And we offer you 3 pages. So actually pages 3, 4, and 5 are exactly the same thing, just for positions 1, 2, and 3. The online survey can actually accommodate up to 8 positions. So if there are additional positions that they're hiring for beyond 3, just feel free to make copies of one of those pages and take the additional information from your interview subject. You can enter up to 8 of those online through the SurveyMonkey form, and if you've got more than 8, you can either fax the additional forms to me or send me the information by email. But if there are areas that they're hiring, we want to capture that information. So whatever you can do to get us that information would be helpful. And there's a couple issues on these hiring and technical skills forms that I wanted to call out. The first is the first question on each page, which is the SOC code. And the SOC code is the Standard Occupational Code, which is a coding system from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that we're going to use to try to more easily analyze the information we're getting. And you should have gotten a PDF document called the Jobs First Codes, and that should be a fairly easy-to-use guide to identifying the job codes for each of the positions that your interview subjects are hiring for. If you want to go learn more about SOC codes, the link is here, the bls.gov/SOC. You shouldn't need to go there because this Jobs First, the code guide, should give you everything you need. And so the idea is to find sort of the primary category, which is those 2-digit codes to the left of the hyphen on the first page. And once you identify sort of the general hiring area, you should be able to go in to the document and find, it's basically, they go out to 6 digits. We're only going to 5 for the purposes of this research. But you'll see within each primary category, they'll have subcategories and then the specific categories of occupations. So you've got, for example, computer mathematical occupations, computer occupations, and then here with the 3-digit codes to the right of the hyphen, you should be able to find the specific job titles. And that's really what we're trying to do to keep everything consistent. So once we identify the job code and how many people that they're hiring in that area, then we want to get information on the key technical skills related to that position. And Steve Zaricki made the point that we can't assume that people out in the field are going to have internet access, so we just want you to ask people what the technical skills are and record that information in their words, and we'll figure out the consistency piece on the back end as we do the analysis. So just ask them and get their verbatim answers on the technical skills. If you really get stuck and your interview subject doesn't really know what it is that they want to say, you can go to this link, to Career Info Net. I'll back out and show you that online. It's a little convoluted. I mean, once you start to talk about all the different skills out there, all the different positions, I mean, you really sort of end up in a sea of information. But if you do need to find sort of a list of skills per position, you can go to this link, and I'll show you just an example. Say that we were looking for people who do manufacturing with sort of numerically controlled machine tools. So you can find that if you search the job type. You'll say, yes, I want to find the computer numerically controlled machine tool programmers. It'll take you to a list of key activities involved in that job. And if you want to hone in on those, you just click the one you want to hone in on, hit continue, and it'll go over the basic skills, social skills, complex problem-solving skills, and then the technical skills. So it is sort of a convoluted process, and again, we're fine with getting verbatim answers from the people who you interview, rather than having to go through this process. This is sort of a stopgap if you're really struggling to get information on the skills associated with a particular position. Let's see. Get back into this. Okay, and then the last piece of this survey, once we get to page, just scrolling through the thing, get to page 6, we're looking for information on employability skills. And there's no one exact model sort of universally accepted. This one, which comes from the Career One Stop site, is a really good model, and we're basing our employability skills questions on this. And I'll go ahead and show you this online as well. So they've got a great model here, and we're looking at, for employability skills, we're looking at Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. So the personal effectiveness, academic competencies, and then the workplace competencies. And the questions are basically driven by the categories here. Okay, one thing to point out about this is that the online survey tool operates a little bit differently than the paper tool. Here in the paper tool, you see on page 6, for Tier 1 example, for example, you see that you've got how important is this skill to you, and then did applicants have this skill? And they're side by side, but once you get online, you've got to enter all the how important is this skill to you answers, and then the next question will be all the did applicants have this skill question, which Shouldn't throw anybody, but I just wanted to highlight it. And to clarify, when we asked did all applicants have this skill, we're talking about all applicants for positions, not just those they hired, but everyone that they interviewed for the positions in question. Did sort of the whole labor pool have this skill or not? So once you've gathered this information from your interview subjects, you can go to SurveyMonkey, and you should have received this link. We can send this link out again. You can enter as many responses as you want. So if you're doing 10 interviews, you can enter all 10 through that link. The only catch is that you've got to enter and complete one and submit it before you can enter the next one. And again, as far as the specific positions that people are hiring for, you can enter up to 8 of those. And if you've got more, just send us that information. You can either fax the forms or mail or email the information to us. In terms of the time frames for this project, we want to get as much information as we can as quickly as we can, because there are people involved in this project who want to use some of the raw data in their planning for 2015. So we're trying to get as much information in the system by January 1st so we can share raw data with everyone who's interested in receiving it. The official completion date for the survey effort is February 15th. And if you find maybe around December or January, if you find that you're struggling with getting these completed, if you can get in touch with me, get in touch with Tom, get in touch with somebody from NEPA, and give us a heads up so we can make other plans to make sure that we capture all the information, we'll be happy to do that. So I'm going to open it up for questions, and we do have a chat box. You can also raise your hand in that little window. So if you have a question, I see Dale that you've got a question. I'm going to unmute you. Dale, can you hear me?
Yes, but I'm. Hello?
Yes, Dale, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. My question was, can you provide us this presentation so we can go over it with our business development staff?
Yes, we will share the PowerPoint, and we're also recording this webinar, so we'll send out a link so that you can either just look at the PowerPoint or you can go through the whole webinar with your team.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And Tom, I think I unmuted you during the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Tom. So if you have any additional comments, anything that I've overlooked, or anything else you want to share, please feel free.
Thank you, Brett. I'm here with Steve, Paula, and Wendy, who are all involved in the project. I mean, I don't think there's anything else you need to go over. Do you guys agree? Or? Yeah, I guess there's general consensus on that, Brett.
Okay. Well, I do see 2 other hands raised. I've got Stephen Phillips, and Stephen, I'm going to unmute you. Stephen, can you hear me? Okay, Stephen, we cannot hear you. If you have a question, you can put it into the chat section, and Jennifer Grams is monitoring that, and maybe she can jump in and share any questions that come through the chat function. So I'm going to mute you back, and Eric, I'm going to unmute you and ask, you've got your raised hand?
Yeah, more of a question for, I think, Tommy and his team than for yourself. But, Tom, I was wondering if during this call we're going to discuss account responsibilities in terms of who will be contacting who for the survey, or is that in the subsequent meeting?
Well, I think it's something that needs to be addressed pretty quickly, Eric. I don't know if this is the right forum to do it, but, perhaps, sometime in the next couple of days, perhaps we could arrange for a brief call between the, among all the members of this management group. Does that sound like a reasonable thing to do, or?
Yeah, Brett, when was the first time we're going to get a pulse check on how many surveys we have back? You mentioned a date. Was that in November?
Well, we've got sort of a soft stop date of January 1st, but we'll have access to real-time data. So if you want me to provide you with regular reports, I can give you total counts. We should be able to easily get counts per county and maybe even counts per interviewer.
Okay. I just want to make sure we have enough time to get you the results that you're needing and let the WIBs develop the coursework that they have to develop. So.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know, if I could just interject, this is Tom again. Maybe one way to handle the, and he would certainly invite comment and input on this, but maybe one of the ways to facilitate the regional agencies participating in performing surveys. If there's areas where gaps exist or where an agency, just doesn't have the capacity to do all that, may be allotted to that particular county, or perhaps the county-based organization would want to, send us. We requested it, but we haven't received it. The listing of businesses that you intend to survey, and we could take a look at that, and and try to work with the partners to give some of the work to the regional agencies. But there's another point that needs to be discussed. We really don't have involvement from the Wyoming Valley area section of Luzerne County, including Pittston, and at this point I would have to say the greater Wilkes-Barre area as well. So absent, official participation in that, perhaps, the regional groups could take a crack at doing those surveys. But I would absolutely defer to the prep management group on that particular point.
Okay, and I think that one thing that would help that we can do is, Tom, we can provide you with weekly reports, sort of status reports, to let you know how many completed surveys have been put in per county.
That would be very helpful.
That's sort of an early warning system, as to identify any challenge areas.
Right.
Okay.
And I would just be asking, any of the county partners out there, do you have any reaction to what we just discussed relative to the actual performing the surveys?
And just on that point, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. For right now, I'm going to unmute Andy Scripp, who had his hand up prior to that question.
This is Andy Scripp. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I have 3 quick questions for you. Is the survey final, or are you still looking for comments?
I think it was final, but if there are issues that you've seen that we had not considered, I don't think it's too late to make changes.
So if we have recommended changes, is it too late, or should we send them to someone?
Go ahead and send those to me and to Tom, and we can look at those and see what we can do with those.
Number 2, will the data be separated by county?
Yes, we'll be able to run crosstabs, so we'll get county-specific information from this survey.
Okay, and my last question is, what is the group going to do with the information? What are we going to do?
Tom, do you want to field that one, or?
Well, ultimately, Andy, I hope I'm answering this correctly. Because there's 4 elements involved in this particular project, and there's a relationship between all 4 of them. Ultimately, the information is going to be utilized in the development of a regional workforce development plan. In addition to the plan, all the information is going to be made available to the prep partners involved in this effort for use as we head down the other activities that we do with the prep project, as far as small business retention, expansion, all those other things exclusive of workforce development activities.
So is it a fair assessment, Tom, to say as a group we can do something with these results, or we can do it by county to do something with these results? Is that a fair assessment?
I'm hopeful we could do it on a regional basis, Andy, but I think, if, like, say, the Chamber wanted to release something solely for Lackawanna County, I don't think we would have a problem with that.
Okay, well, we got to start thinking about it as a group. We're going to do it as a group. We need to get organized.
Right, and that's what we're going to be having throughout the contract period, Andy. It's going to be brought up at the regular prep meetings, as well as it'll be a component of the prep meetings, as well as the prep management group, or the Jobs First management group, excuse me.
Right, and this is Brett. I'll just add a couple of other elements to that. One is that in addition to the survey of employers, we're also doing a landscape survey to identify the secondary, the post-secondary, and the adult training outlets in the 7-county region and try to identify the areas that they're focused on. So we can do sort of a gap analysis between the two. And in the spring, we're having, I believe, 2 regional summits to go over this data to bring all the stakeholders together to talk about this. So I think that those will both be helpful in terms of application of the data.
And one last question.
Yes.
How are you doing this, Tom or Brett or whoever, on a per-county basis? Who's doing the calls? For instance, in Lackawanna County, who's willing to make the calls, and how many are you willing to make? Who's going to coordinate that?
NEPA is willing to coordinate that, Andy. That's one of the issues we brought up at the very beginning of the of this webinar. We need to know what specific companies are being targeted within each county. And, you know, we like to have the regional groups. I think they need to be involved in doing surveys as well. So we have the number of surveys per county, and you got that information. But I think if we had a handle on exactly, like say, you know, what companies a county partner intends to survey, that would be helpful in trying to delegate the work with and coordinating everything with the county partners. The thing is, we don't want to have, you know, the regionals and the county partners, you know, looking to survey the same people. That just doesn't look very good or professional, and we don't have our act together. So I think the first step is, you know, actually know what companies the county partners intend to survey. When this whole thing was being planned back in, I don't know, March or April, you know, at that point in time, it was thought that the county-based partners would do most of the survey work. And if I'm mistaken in that comment, please let me know. And that the regional agencies, you know, would try to survey some of their own good clients that they have a very good relationship with, and to fill in gaps caused by, you know, staff capacity or programming issues at other county-based organizations.
Okay, so Tom, I'm requesting for Lackawanna County, would you email all the partners and ask them they're willing to do the surveys, and if so, how many they're willing to do?
Okay, sure. We'll get that out today.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's see, for the attendees, I see that, Eric, you've got your hand up. Did you have an additional comment? Or was that from before? Okay, so I'm not hearing from Eric. And I know that we had some additional questions.
Brett, this is Jennifer.
Yeah,
Hi.
hey, Jennifer.
So Stephen typed his question in. I'd be happy to read that.
Please.
He said, Central Prep Region allows us to send forms out via email. Does NEPA mandate that this has to be done face-to-face?
Tom, I'll leave that to you.
That's a good question, Steve. We'd have to go back through the application and see if, you know, if that was specifically included that, you know, interviews would be conducted on a, you know, one-on-one meeting basis.
Yeah, I know in the discussions that we've had, that was certainly the preferred method. I think you're going to get better information, and given the compensation levels, I think that was the expectation.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It was, Brett.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Andy, I see that you've got your hand up again, so I'll unmute you.
This is Amy Leister. I'm with Andy Scripps' team. A question as far as partnership agreements. Will NEPA be executing partnership agreements with SLPCO and the other partners based on the number of calls that will be committed to make by January?
Yeah, Amy, I did mention earlier, in the webinar that we are working on the agreement or subcontract, whatever you want to call it, and we anticipate you guys receiving that sometime this week.
Okay, thank you.
But everybody, all 13 prep partners, will get that.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions? I see that there are some questions up, and for some reason I can't open my question window. Jen, I don't know if you can. Okay, if you don't mind.
Yep. We had a question from Brian. He asked how much reimbursement is allocated per interview.
The amount that we have put in the application that was approved was $250 per completed and submitted interviews.
Okay. Question from Tammy from Pike County EDA. Are these surveys just for manufacturing businesses?
No.
Right, and I'll, if you look at the first page of the survey down at the bottom, the industry sector, these are the strategic sectors that we're particularly interested in, but if there are employers or key businesses in your region that are not part of those sectors, I think we still want to hear from them. You can just list them as other.
Okay. A follow-up question from Brian. In addition to SurveyMonkey, must each company also be entered into Executive Pulse?
Yes, that was the plan going in.
Okay. And Brett, it looks like Eric has a hand up. Do you want to unmute?
I'll unmute Eric. Eric, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me pretty well?
We can hear you, yeah.
Great. I did have a hand up from before, Brett. It was in response to Andy's question to Tommy regarding what we're going to do with the data. Tommy, I don't know if you mentioned it in the answer, but I think a big part of this initiative was to allow the WIBs time to get the answers and create customized training programs with their ITA funds that they received under this grant. Is that correct? Question, I guess, for Virginia.
I suppose it would help if I unmuted Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia, here you go. You're unmuted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yeah, that was the original intent. I spoke with my counterparts, Joe Sevlin and Patty Lenahan, and we did discuss this. Due to the fact that most of this data won't come back until February, it's going to limit the amount of time and the way it falls during the year in putting people into training. We're starting to investigate now. We have a meeting next, the second week in October, the three of us, to decide how we want to proceed with identifying people that will need training. I think you understand my concern here in that with most of the training at training institutions opens up usually in September the classes start, and then again in January. What will be starting in March of next year, I don't know. So we're going to take a proactive report to starting to identify individuals.
Got it.
And I'll just pipe in there and note that, again, we do have access to real-time data. So if at any point you're doing strategic planning and you just want to find out what we have so far, I can share with you what we've got so far just in terms of raw data.
That'll be a big help as we go through the fall.
Yeah. So, again, you've got my contact information. Please don't
Yes.
hesitate to get in touch and ask that question.
Good, thanks.
Yep.
And then I guess my other comment was going to be another pickup on Andy's comment. Would it be beneficial to create a deadline by which we do have to get Tommy the list of companies that we intend to contact?
Yeah, I would hope that we'd have that information, by the end of the week.
Okay, so Tom, just to confirm, I'm hearing you say that by the end of the week, everyone interested in doing surveys needs to get you their list of intended targets?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, can you communicate that to everyone that may or may not be on the call? Because I think that's pretty important.
That will go out in the email, Andy. Yes. And that is a good point. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
I don't see that we have any other questions or comments. Jennifer, if you see anything that I'm not seeing, please do let us know.
At this point, I don't see anything additional.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, we have recorded this webinar, and we'll provide a link to you in short order so that any of your partners or any additional interviewers who need to see this information can access it. We'll also provide the PowerPoint slide, and if you need anything else, additional copies of materials, or if you have any questions as you start to go through this, please don't hesitate to contact me. My information's there. You also have contact information for Tom and the other folks there at the NEPA Alliance. So thank you all for participating in today's webinar.